Hey, what is up guys? So today we're going to be taking a look at two new cards that will have a huge impact on the game coming out in next challengers. First off, we've got Solemn Advice. It's a new counter trap card very similar to Solemn Judgment. And it says, while you control no other set cards in your spell and trap zone, when a monster or monsters would be summoned, or when a spell card, trap card, or monster effect is activated, pay 3,000 life points, negate the summon or activation, and if you do, destroy that card. So that's like even better than Solemn Judgment in one sense, because it can activate when a monster's would be summoned, which can stop other things like Call of the Haunted, or effects like Miss Megalo, other things that summon through effects. So it's kind of like a Solemn Warning plus Solemn Judgment combined into one card. Now it does have that hefty 3,000 life points, and it also has another condition, while you control no other set spell cards in your spell and trap zone. Now first off, that first part where it says you can control no other set cards in your spell and trap zone, the way I see it is you can still set multiple back row. Just make sure that multiple back row is going to be able to be activated. So for example, let's say you happen to have a bottomless trap hole, maybe a mystical space type wound, you can still set this because your MST can then pop something that your opponent has as long as they have something to actually pop. The bottomless can still stop something before you actually activate your Solemn Advice. Now obviously bottomless trap hole cannot start something like Dark Hole, but the thing is this card is still a very, very powerful card, and there's so many decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! That just kind of play one Solemn Warning or one Torrential Tribute because these cards are very, very powerful. Now with 3,000 life points as a cost, that is really hefty into the game, and I feel like since Soul Charge is a thing, most players probably won't be playing triple Soul Charge and multiple Solemn Advice because that technically can be counterproductive. But in one sense, you can argue that it is still valid because if you draw those cards and you activate them, you should be at a point where you're at such a huge advantage that you'll technically win anyways. So you can technically make that argument. But let me know, guys, would you actually play Solemn Advice, and how many copies would you play? I think the card is fantastic. I think it's kind of like one of those cards that you run one of. It kind of reminds me just like a Solemn Judgment. Some decks, they just kind of just throw in one Solemn because Solemn was an answer at any time, basically. The thing is, this could almost be an answer at any time. The problem is, you have to pay 3,000 life points, and as we know, so many decks love Soul Charge anyways, to the point where you might not be able to have that extra 3,000 life points because you're going to have to activate Soul Charge. The minimum you're going to get 2 monsters. There's no way you'd go Soul Charge into one unless you have to make some bad plays, or you're trying to go for a specific play. Most of the time with Soul Charge, it's 2 or more monsters. You're trying to go for something like a 101 or Excite Time. You're going to get a huge advantage basically off of the card, and you're not going to just go ahead and end your turn with a bunch of monsters on board without getting some type of small little advantage, whether it's with Big Eye or whether it's with Draco Sack. But I think this card has a lot of potential. The next card, it kind of reminds me of a 101, but it's just a more aggressive version of kind of like Castiel the Sky Blaster, or even the Heartland Draco. It's a 2 level 4 generic one, also coming out in the next challenger set. It's 2 level 4 monsters. It's a Dark Dragon that says you can detach 2 materials from this card, then target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, half that monster's attack, and if you do, this card gains the same amount of attack. Now, what's really cool with this is it gets rid of stuff that's perhaps in defense position. Sometimes you notice things happen to go to defense position, and you can't get rid of them with 101 because 101 can only target face-up attack positions. That's why you'll sometimes see people, go for things in defense mode. Maybe that they're afraid. Like Draco Sack sometimes goes in defense mode because it's afraid to get 101. Where this card over here, maybe you can get rid of the last 2, tokens on board, and then you're going to go ahead and XYZ for the Dark Rebellion XYZ Dragon, and then you can actually half Draco Sack's, attack and then gain that amount, and then Draco Sack probably will next turn tribute it anyways, but nonetheless, when there's things in defense mode, this can still technically do stuff. Maybe you're going to half the attack of Draco Sack, and then be able to maybe enemy controller move their token to attack position, and then go ahead and just attack the token, and you're going to have a huge amount of attack. So I like this card because it kind of has the same concept of 1-1, get rid of 1 monster and basically attack. Now this card technically can be better than 101 in one sense because you can actually finish off your opponent, because being able to absorb basically it just becomes like a 25 beater. It's 400 more, but sometimes those amount of life points make the difference between winning and losing in games. I think we're going to get a 101 reprint soon, and I felt like this could kind of be a replacement. Also, Castiel, the Sky Blaster, that could also, it's that one that bounces, you target, I think it's a face-up monster, you can detach 2 to send it back to the deck, and I think you can detach 1 to like flip it face down. My Stroke has just gone downhill. No one really can play that card anymore. There's just so many better options, but nonetheless, if 1/1 doesn't get reprinted, this is still a fantastic option to it. Also, if Castile doesn't come out for a while in the TCG, but I still think Solemn Advice and Dark Rebellion, XYZ Dragon have a lot of potential in the game. Like I said, this card opens up a lot of doors to perhaps absorbing and then moving something maybe with enemy controller, or just attacking a monster that happens to have smaller attack on board, and you could just inflict, I mean, could you imagine targeting a 5-headed dragon, half attack? Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and gain that. And then now you're looking at a monster with 5,000 attack that can, maybe even attack something else. And there's really no downside to this card at all, and I really think this card has some potential, just like Solemn Advice. But I think Solemn Advice would probably be a more meta card, or maybe no one will want to play it because the life point cost is just too large. But the amount of stuff that it can do is really good. It's just very conditional. You gotta have to pay 3,000, and you have to have no other set cards in your spell and trap. So you can still have face up. So I was thinking, well, what you could do is you can still have things like Bandy's Emptiness, perhaps. So you can just like activate that, and if they get rid of that, well then hey, you still have your Solemn Advice. But let me know, like I said, what your thoughts are on this card. And if you're gonna play Solemn Advice, how many would you play? Personally, for me, in most of my decks, I would say I'd probably only play one of these because the amount of life points you have to pay is just too hefty, and it can be a dead card, especially with wiretaps so popular in the TCG. I mean, could you imagine just them going, oh, you pay 3,000? Okay, wiretap. And then, you've almost lost, you lost more than 1/3 of your life points in that. And, if you've activated Soul Charge, you're probably not looking at a game where you have life points to spare. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day. Azneyes out.